When the clock struck 2 in the morning, I was standing outside the tightly shut solid wood door of the wedding suite. In my hand was the top-secret patent authorization I had just retrieved from the lab, a wedding surprise I had intended for Lu Yuchen, a ticket that would allow his Lu Group to completely turn the tables in the biomedical field and double its valuation. But the warm yellow light seeping through the door crack, along with those faint, fragmented moans, felt like icy steel needles. Piercing through the festive atmosphere of the room, Yuchen, tomorrow is the wedding. If Shen Xingning finds out you came out with me to get the marriage certificate today, she'd go crazy, wouldn't she? It was Lin Wanru's voice, my good friend, who was so delicate she could barely take care of herself and had relied on my financial support to finish college. She won't know. I pulled some strings at the Civil Affairs Bureau to delay the system entry. Today was just to fulfill your wish, Lu. Yuchen's voice was as cool and detached as ever, like a handful of shattered snow that never melts. There was a time when I loved his aloof, untouchable demeanor the most, but now, the affection in his tone made me sick. But, this is bigamy after all, aren't you really afraid? Lin Wanru cooed, followed by the rustling sound of paper. Wanru, be good. Getting the marriage certificate is just to let you experience the sense of security that comes with the title. Shen Xingning is too domineering. And the patents and connections she has behind her are something I must make use of right now. Once Lu Corporation solidifies its position as the industry leader, I'll give her a sum of money and let her leave with dignity. In my heart, the position of Mrs. Lu has only ever been yours. Through the door, I could almost picture Lu Yuchen's handsome yet distant face. His name is Lu Yuchen, the youngest business prodigy in the capital. Everyone praises him for his restraint and politeness, unaware that his very bones are etched with shrewd calculation. I smiled self-deprecatingly, the warmth in my eyes shattering bit by bit, freezing into a cold, deep pool. So, the 3 years of painstakingly built affection, the patent I poured my heart and soul into developing in his eyes, they were nothing but stepping stones paving the way for his true love. His so-called experience was built upon trampling my dignity and the bottom line of the law. I didn't push the door open and make a scene. That would be the behavior of a shrew, not Shen Xingning's style. I took a deep breath, calmly took out my phone, switched it to silent mode, and aimed it at the crack in the door in the video. The red marriage certificate was particularly glaring. Lu Yuchen was lowering his head to kiss Lin Wanru's forehead. His eyes, which had once told me, I will never let you down in this lifetime, were now filled with deep affection. Enough to crush you all, I sneered silently. I turned and went downstairs, each dull thud of my leather shoes on the marble steps sounding like a funeral dirge for this relationship. Sitting in the car, I dialed a number that had been untouched for 3 years. Uncle Chen, send a car to pick me up. I'm going back to the Shen residence. Also, initiate Project Zero. Since Mr. Lu enjoys experiences, let him experience what it means to lose everything overnight. On the other end of the phone, the old butler, Uncle Chen, couldn't hide the excitement in his voice. Miss, you finally decided to come back. The old master has been waiting for this day for far too long. He always said that a daughter of the Shen family would never bow down to anyone. I want to see Han Xiao at the Shen residence in half an hour. I hung up the phone, my gaze falling on the patent authorization document in the passenger seat. I tore it directly into pieces and casually scattered them into the wind. The core technology of the Lu Group now relies entirely on the underlying algorithms I provided. Back then, to help him, I invested 300 million in cash under my own name and signed a technology sharing agreement. However, there was a barely noticeable supplementary clause in the contract. If the cooperating party engages in actions that violate public order and good morals or harm the legitimate rights and interests of third parties, the technology holder has the right to unilaterally withdraw all authorizations and claim compensation. Is bigamy enough to violate public order and good morals? When I returned to the Shen residence, top lawyer Han Xiao was already waiting in the brightly lit conference hall with his team. Miss Shen, or perhaps I should start calling you Chairwoman Shen. Han Xiao adjusted his glasses and pushed a thick asset assessment report toward me. As per your instructions, we have frozen all your financial accounts linked to the Lu family. Once you sign, the 3 billion in funds will be forcibly frozen under the charge of unauthorized appropriation. Additionally, Due to Mr. Liu Yuchen's dishonest conduct during the marriage renewal period, which triggered the patent withdrawal clause, all products currently being manufactured by the Liu family will face infringement lawsuits and a complete shutdown of production lines. I took the pen, and every stroke I made on the paper was firm and decisive. Attorney Han, I want more than just a withdrawal of funds. I looked up at him, a sharp glint of fire igniting in my eyes. I want Liu Corporation's stock price to hit the limit down from the opening bell at tomorrow's wedding. Since he wants a ceremony he'll never forget, I have to give him a big gift. Understood. Han Xiao curled his lips into a professional, cold smile. The Liu family has nearly drained all their liquid assets for tomorrow's wedding extravagance. Once your funds are withdrawn, their cash flow will collapse instantly. It's like a domino effect, push over the first piece, and the rest will fall into the abyss. Just then, my phone vibrated, a text from Liu Yuchen. Xingning, are you still busy? Get some rest early. Tomorrow, you'll be the most beautiful bride. I love you. Looking at those 3 words, I love you, I felt my stomach churn violently. I replied, okay, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. We will indeed meet, however, not as your bride, but as the creditor who will send you to hell. Uncle Chen walked in, holding a stack of custom-designed black evening gown samples. Miss, the clothes for tomorrow have been prepared again. Additionally, the private jet is on standby, and the flight route after the wedding has been approved, direct to London to inherit the old gentleman's 6 billion overseas assets. I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside was the bustling night view of the capital, and after tomorrow, the Liu family would no longer be on the list of this land's owners. Lin Wanru wants the feeling of getting married. Liu Yuchen wants the feeling of climbing the social ladder through me. I'll grant them both. I whispered softly, my voice echoing through the empty ancient mansion. As for me, Shen Xingning, I just want to experience the feeling of crushing trash with my own hands. At that moment, a bolt of lightning tore through the night sky outside the window, followed by the rumble of distant thunder. This night was destined for some to have sweet dreams, while others teetered on the edge of shattered illusions. I sat back down at the desk and began revising tomorrow's wedding vows, word by word. The original line, whether in poverty or wealth, was changed to, since you chose poverty, I'll grant you complete destruction. Liu Yuchen, do you think I'm just a naive fiancé who only stays in the lab? You've forgotten, my surname is Shen. In the Shen family bloodline, there has never been only gentleness, but also ruthlessness. Uncle Chen, notify the media. Tomorrow's wedding must not only be grand but also broadcast live across the entire internet. I want the whole world to witness how this pair of marriage license experiencers meet their downfall. At 3 in the morning, the rain grew heavier, with large, heavy drops pattering against the thick double-layered glass of the aircraft cabin. I didn't stay at the Shen residence to sleep peacefully. Instead, I chose to board the plane overnight. Uncle Chen held a large black umbrella with a bone handle, shielding me from the cool night rain as he led me onto the sleek yet extravagantly luxurious private jet, the Gulfstream G700. Emblazoned on the fuselage was the Shen family crest in dark gold, the ultimate symbol of wealth and power. Miss, the legal team in London has prepared all the trust transfer documents. The $6 billion in assets, including the Manhattan office building, Sotheby's shares, and several tax haven funds in the Cayman Islands, are all ready for you to sign upon arrival. Uncle Chen handed me a cup of warm black tea, his movements elegant and restrained. I sank into the handcrafted sofa made of premium calfskin, swirling the black tea in my hand as the steam misted over my eyes. No rush. Before signing, I want to watch a good show first, I said calmly. Just then, the phone on the marble tabletop vibrated intensely. The screen lit up with the name Yuchen. Appearing particularly ironic in the dimly lit cabin, I pressed the answer button and turned on the recording. Xingning, why aren't you at home? I went to the villa to look for you, and Aunt Lan said you took all your change of clothes. Even that custom-made wedding dress is gone. Liu Yuchen's voice carried a hint of barely noticeable anxiety, but that aloof, superior air was still perfectly maintained. The wedding dress, oh, I thought the size wasn't quite right, so I took it to be altered. My tone was steady, even carrying a hint of lazy amusement. Alter the size, the wedding is tomorrow, is there still time to alter it now? He paused, his tone softening a bit, adopting that habitual, coaxing gentleness. Xingning, Don't be difficult. Wonru was just telling me how envious she is that you get to wear that hand-sewn wedding dress. She said she might never have the chance to wear such a beautiful dress in her lifetime. You should cherish our fate, I sneered, my fingertips tracing the grain of the leather armrest in the cabin. Oh, really? Did Lin Wonru really say that? Didn't she just get her marriage certificate with you and get a taste of what it feels like to be Mrs. Lu? The other end of the phone instantly fell into a deathly silence. I could even hear Lu Yuchen's slightly heavy breathing. He clearly hadn't expected that Shen Xingning, always gentle, with eyes only for her experiments and him, would know this secret. Xingning, who told you such nonsense? This kind of joke isn't something to be taken lightly, he said, his voice turning cold, carrying a hint of threat. Lu Yuchen, rather than worrying about who told me, you should be more concerned about your company's accounts. I took a sip of black tea, my tone completely calm. After all, while the experience of getting married may be free, the subsequent bills might be something you can't afford. Shen Xingning, where on earth are you? He finally lost his composure, growling in a low voice. I'm on my way to inherit a 6 billion yuan inheritance, I said softly, then directly pressed the end call button and added his number to the blacklist. Outside the cabin, the engines emitted a low roar as the plane began accelerating. Down the runway, with the intense push against my back, I watched the lights of the capital city rapidly shrink outside the window, eventually turning into a blurry cluster of light points. Mr. Lu just attempted to access the 300 million in research funds through a backup account, but we've intercepted it. Uncle Chen sat before the control panel, the screen flickering with dense financial data. His financial situation is dire right now. To cover the losses from that previous project, he mortgaged 30% of the Lu family's shares to loan sharks. He's waiting for tomorrow's wedding ribbon-cutting ceremony to use your reputation to boost the stock price and cash out. Wishful thinking. I closed my eyes, and Lu Yuchen's cold, aloof face surfaced in my mind. He always thought I was a helpless orphan, that my scientific research skills were merely a stepping stone for his own success. He never imagined that my surname is Shen, that I am the sole heir of the Shen family, the one that once held immense power and later retreated overseas. Uncle Chen, bring me the details of Project Zero. I took the documents. This plan, originally prepared as a reserve fund to prevent the Lu family's business from suffering losses, had now become the gallows that would strangle the Lu family. The documents clearly recorded all the illegal activities of the Lu group over the past 3 years, false accounting, technology theft, and evidence of Lin Wonru using personal connections to launder money for Lu Yuchen. These things are enough to keep him down for the rest of his life, I said, flipping through the shocking figures, especially Lin Wonru. Did she think that getting a marriage certificate would make her the secure Mrs. Lu? What she got was nothing but a one-way ticket to hell. The cabin lights dimmed, and I leaned back in my seat, closing my eyes to rest. New figures began to emerge. Uncle Chen handed me a photo of a young man with a stern expression and sharp eyes. This is I, a private bodyguard and special assistant recommended by lawyer Han Xiao. He is already in position at the wedding venue, responsible for monitoring Lin Wonru's every move. Excellent. I opened my eyes, my gaze clear and sharp. Tell I that there's no need to stop Lin Wonru tomorrow. If she wants to wear the wedding dress, let her wear it. If she wants to step onto the stage, let her step up. I want her to fall the hardest at her most glorious moment. At that moment, the satellite communication system on the plane signaled an alert. The public relations department of the Lu Group is frantically issuing press releases, attempting to cover up Lu Yuchen's late-night search for his fiancé while heavily promoting tomorrow's wedding of the century. On social media platforms, all the press releases about this wedding are circulating. A deep affection in a wealthy family. The president of the Lu Group spends a fortune just to give his beloved wife a grand wedding. The comment section is filled with envy. I scroll through those comments, lightly tap my finger, and reply to one. Whether it's a grand wedding or a funeral, we'll find out tomorrow. The plane pierced through the clouds, greeting the first rays of dawn from across the ocean. Meanwhile, inside the Lu family villa, Lu Yuchen was anxiously kicking over an expensive rosewood coffee table. Lin Wonru nestled weakly in his arms, her face pale. Yuchen, has Shen Xingning really found out? What if she doesn't show up tomorrow? How dare she? Lu Yuchen gritted his teeth, a flash of ruthlessness in his eyes. She has no money or background, where else can she go besides me? She's just putting on airs, trying to get a higher bride price. As long as she shows up tomorrow, I have plenty of ways to make her shut up. What he didn't know was that the soft persimmon he saw as having no money or background was now sitting at an altitude of 10,000 meters, holding power enough to destroy his entire family. I gaze at the rolling sea of clouds outside the window. My heart utterly still. Once, I believed love was a safe harbor. Later, I realized that the strongest armor has always been forged by oneself. Lu Yuchen, since you want the experience, tomorrow, I'll let you experience what true despair feels like. I open my computer and enter the highest authorization code for the Shun group. On the screen, a golden dragon emblem slowly rotates, symbolizing the awakening of the world's most formidable capital power. Step 1, Short Lu Corporation. I hit the enter key, like a patient hunter tightening the first rope of the trap. The morning in the capital was shrouded in a thin layer of mist, but St. Mary's Cathedral in the city center was already packed. A red carpet stretching several kilometers was laid from the street corner all the way to the entrance of the hall, with white roses airlifted from southern France lining both sides of the road, their fragrance so rich it was almost cloying. The public relations team of Lu Corporation had clearly spared no expense. Countless cameras were aimed at the entrance, and the livestream viewership had already surpassed 10 million. The screen was flooded with various well-wishes. As everyone eagerly anticipated this wedding of the century, I sat on the black leather sofa backstage, no longer wearing the pristine white wedding dress, but instead a pure black velvet haute couture gown. The hem of the skirt trailed on the floor, embroidered with fine black diamonds in the dark patterns, like a flowing galaxy in the deep night, oppressive yet noble. Miss Shun, Lu Yuchen is going crazy outside. I silently pushed the door open. He was dressed in a sharp black suit, his eyes as sharp as a blade. He just smashed 3 cups in the lounge because the chief financial officer of the Lu Group told him that the 300 million rand working capital has been frozen by the judiciary. He's looking for you everywhere, hoping you'll go to the bank to sign and unfreeze it. I applied a bold red lipstick in front of the mirror. The woman reflected in the glass was as cold and stunning as an unsheathed blade. What about Lin Wanru? I asked softly. She's in the side hall. She thought you had a change of heart and ran off, and she's been urging Lu Yuchen to let her take the bride's place. I showed a mocking smile. She actually put on a knockoff wedding dress and is touching up her makeup over there. Let her act. The stage is all set. How can we go on without the lead? The wedding march began right on time. Lu Yuchen stood before the altar, his face somewhat pale but still maintaining that cool, dignified demeanor. His eyes scanned the crowd until he saw me, dressed in a black gown, walking step by step into the hall. The entire hall erupted in an uproar. Shen Xingning, what are you doing? Go change your clothes. Lu Yuchen quickly descended the steps, his voice lowered to a furious whisper in my ear. His usually cool tone was now filled with impatience. Who are you? Dressed like that to mourn? Hurry up and unfreeze those accounts. Lu Corporation's stock dropped 3 points at the opening. Do you have any idea what that means? I stopped walking, avoiding his outstretched hand that tried to grab me, and a playful smile curled at the corner of my lips. What does it mean? It means your marriage license experience has officially started billing. I walked straight to the altar, pushed aside the stunned priest, and picked up the microphone. Everyone, before the wedding begins, I'd like to invite you all to watch a short video. I gestured. The giant LED screen in the center of the hall, which had been displaying our wedding photos, suddenly flickered and switched to a surveillance replay from inside the wedding suite last night. The high-definition footage and perfect audio captured Lu Yuchen holding Lin Wanru affectionately, waving the 2 red marriage certificates in his hand. Wanru, getting the marriage license was just to let you experience the sense of security that comes with the title. Shen Xingning is too domineering, and the patents and connections she has behind her are something I must take advantage of right now. The venue fell into a deathly silence, followed by a wave of murmurs loud enough to lift the roof. Lu Yuchen, you beast. Below the stage, Lin Wanru's parents turned deathly pale, while the elders of the Lu family were so shocked they overturned their wine glasses. Lin Wanru lifted the hem of her wedding dress and rushed out screaming, turn it off now. Xingning, let me explain. It was just a misunderstanding. It was Yuchen who, a misunderstanding. I sneered. cutting her off as I pulled a stack of photocopies from my clutch and flung them hard into her face. These are duplicate copies of the marriage registration records from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lu Yuchen. While still engaged to me, you exploited a system loophole to illegally register your marriage with Lin Wanru. That's bigamy. Legally, it's a criminal offense. Lu Yuchen froze in place, his usually aloof face now looking as if it had been stripped bare, his body trembling slightly. Xingning, have you lost your mind? What good does this do for the Lu family? You're supposed to be the future matriarch of the Lu family. Lady of the Lu family, whoever wants this worthless title can have it. I turned to face the camera, my voice clear and resolute, echoing through every corner of the live stream. I, Xingning, hereby announce today, first, I am terminating all engagement ties with Lu Yuchen. Second, I am withdrawing all technical authorizations and patent support I provided to the Lu Group. Third, as the largest creditor of the Lu Group, I have already applied to the court for asset preservation. From this moment on, all assets of the Lu Group will be frozen. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire room erupted. Lu Yuchen's phone vibrated wildly. Trembling, he answered it, only to hear his secretary's desperate scream on the other end. Mr. Lu, it's over. Mr. Zhao is leading the charge to withdraw investments. Our stock price hit the limit down as soon as the market opened, and the bank just notified us that all our credit lines have been cancelled. We're going bankrupt. Lu Yuchen's phone slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor as he collapsed weakly beside the altar. Meanwhile, Lin Wanru, hiding in the corner, stared at the marriage certificate in her hand as if it were a hot potato. She had thought that getting the certificate would make her a wealthy socialite, but instead, she had signed herself up for joint liability on a massive debt. Lu Yuchen, see, I told you'd like this grand gift. I swept past him as he lay collapsed on the ground, the black hem of my skirt brushing against his expensive suit. Amid the flashing lights of countless media cameras, I gracefully walked out of the auditorium. Outside the door, a row of black Hongqi sedans stretched end to end, with I respectfully holding the car door open. Chairman Shin, the board meeting of the Shin Group will begin in half an hour. Everyone is waiting for you to take charge. I glanced back at the magnificent yet decaying church, the place that had buried my past. Let's go. The real show is just getting started. The car started and sped away, leaving a trail of dust behind. In the rearview mirror, Lu Yuchen was seen rushing out of the church in a disheveled state, trying to chase after the car, only to be surrounded by a large group of debt-collecting suppliers. His so-called aloof and proud demeanor was completely shattered under the crushing weight of capital, leaving not even a trace behind. Top-floor office of the Shin Group. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the CBD skyline of the capital. A sprawling forest of steel lying at my feet. I changed into a sharp, dark grey suit, my long hair neatly tied back. The woman in the mirror no longer held even a trace of affection in her eyes, only absolute calm and decisive resolve. Chairman Shin, here is the real-time status of the Lu Group. My assistant, Su Man, handed me a tablet, her tone efficient. As you predicted, after the wedding video leaked, Lu Group's credit rating plummeted to D. Their largest partner, Mr. Zhao, has officially announced the termination of all cooperation with the Lu Group and has extended an olive branch to our Shin Group instead. I picked up the black coffee beside me, its bitter taste spreading across my tongue. Sharpening my senses, Mr. Zhao is a smart man. He knows the Lu Group is nothing but an empty shell now, I said, my eyes fixed on the rapidly falling red curve on the screen. Where is Lu Yuchen? Downstairs. A trace of disgust flickered in Su Man's expression. He's been waiting in the lobby for 4 hours. Security has asked 3 times if they should kick him out, but he says he won't leave until he sees you. It's pouring rain outside, and he doesn't even have an umbrella. I walked to the window and looked down. At the entrance of the magnificent Shin Group building, a tiny black dot, insignificant as an ant, stood in the wind and rain. That was Lu Yuchen, once the aloof, untouchable young master who acted as if a mere glance at others was a favor. Now he was a pathetic figure desperately trying to salvage a bet he had long since lost. Let him come up. I set down my coffee cup, my tone flat and uninflected. Some debts are best settled face to face for a more immersive experience. 5 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Lu Yuchen walked in. He was drenched from head to toe, his expensive custom-made shirt clinging tightly to his body. The hair that was always meticulously styled was now disheveled across his forehead, and droplets of water trickled down his handsome yet pale cheeks. "Xingning," he began, his voice hoarse and strained, completely devoid of his usual composure. "I know I was wrong about Wanru. I was foolish, deceived by her fragile facade. If you withdraw the funds, Lu Corporation will truly collapse. It's the lifelong effort of my parents." I sat behind the expansive desk, my hands folded, leaning back slightly, watching him with an air of absolute control. "Mr. Lu, are you appealing to sentiment with me?" I let out a light laugh. Though the smile didn't reach my eyes. Lu Corporation's effort is an effort. But what about the core patents and 300 million in cash I provided for free over the past 3 years? Were they just cabbage on the side of the road? When you were taking your vows and registering your marriage with Lin Wanru, why didn't you consider that Lu Corporation's lifeline was in my hands? I just want to make it up to her. She saved my life. Lu Yuchen took 2 hurried steps forward but was abruptly blocked by I, who stood beside him. The murderous intent in I's eyes forced him to halt in his tracks. Lu Yuchen looked at me, a desperate plea surfacing in his gaze. "Xingning, as long as you help the Lu family get through this crisis, I'll divorce her immediately. We can hold the wedding again, I promise. From now on, the title of Mrs. Lu will belong to you alone, Lu Yuchen. Do you still not understand the situation?" I stood up and walked step by step toward him. The sound of my high heels clicking on the wooden floor seemed to strike his nerves with every step. "Do you think I would care about the title of a remarried bigamist, a man who climbed the ladder by relying on women, a bankrupt businessman who lacks even basic integrity?" I took a document from Su Man and casually tossed it at his feet, splashing water all over the floor. "This is the record of Lin Wanru transferring Lu Corporation's public funds through her private account half an hour ago. While you're here begging me to save your life, your true love is busy emptying out your last coffin savings. Lu Yuchen, that seemingly fragile lifesaver you speak of appears to be far more cunning than you imagined." Lu Yuchen froze. With trembling hands, he picked up the document, staring at the transfer records and Lin Wanru's handwritten signature. His expression shifted gradually from shock to utter despair. "No, this can't be. She promised to stand by me through thick and thin," he muttered to himself. His pride completely shattered in that moment. The premise of standing by each other through thick and thin is having something to share. Now that Lu Corporation is tens of billions in debt, how could someone like Lin Wanru possibly stay to help you repay it? I leaned down and whispered in his ear, my voice as cold as ice. "You thought you were playing with the emotions of 2 women, but in reality, you were just being played by your own arrogance. Xingning, must you be so ruthless?" He lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot. "Ruthless?" I raised an eyebrow. "This is just the beginning, Su Man. Notify the finance department to submit an enforcement application to the court as a creditor. Before sunset tomorrow, I want to see the Lu family's villa and the luxury cars in the garage all sealed off." "Yes, Chairman Shin." Lu Yuchen collapsed to the ground, rainwater trickling from the hem of his clothes and spreading a dirty stain across the marble floor. The proud, aloof demeanor he had once prided himself on now seemed utterly laughable in the face of the evidence of his betrayal. "Are ye, see Mr. Lu out, don't dirty my floor." I sat back down in my seat and picked up another document. It was the Shin Group's upcoming acquisition plan, with the Lu family's name prominently listed at the top. "Xingning, Xingning, you'll regret this." Lu Yuchen was dragged toward the elevator by a Yi as if he were a chick, screaming frantically in the hallway. I didn't even look up regret. That word has never been in my dictionary. I watched the rain gradually stopping outside the window. "Lu Yuchen, do you think being betrayed by Lin Wanru is the end? No, true despair is when you realize that everything you've painstakingly built has ultimately become nothing more than a backdrop on my path to success. Su Man, keep a close eye on Lin Wanru," I say with a cold smirk. "Every penny she took, I'll make her pay back double. After experiencing the marriage certificate, she should also get a taste of what prison bars feel like." The top-floor banquet hall of the Beijing Hyatt Hotel is resplendent and magnificent. Tonight marks the first business banquet hosted by the Shun Group since its entry into Beijing, with celebrities and dignitaries gathered, toasting and mingling. I slipped into a deep V-neck mermaid dress that shimmered with iridescent light, with 2 large black pearls dangling from my ears. Every gesture I made exuded the composure of someone in a position of power. Suman stood behind me, reporting in a low voice. Lu Yuchen and Lin Wanru have snuck in. Lu Yuchen borrowed an out-of-season haute couture suit and is trying to approach those investors in overseas trade. As for Lin Wanru, Suman gestured for me to look toward the dessert table. Lin Wanru was wearing a pink lace gown, her face adorned with a delicate yet slightly heavy makeup, trying to conceal her weariness. She was holding the hands of several wealthy ladies, her eyes slightly red, looking pitiful and fragile. Ladies, Xingning wasn't like this before. Lin Wanru lowered her voice, just enough for those around to hear. She was originally just a helpless orphan. My parents took pity on her and funded her education, and Yu Chen only got engaged to her out of sympathy. Who would have thought that after gaining the support of the Shen family, she completely changed? Not only did she take over the Lu family's business, but she also drove Yu Chen into a corner. She's a scheming person. You all need to be careful. Several wealthy ladies exchanged glances, their expressions turning subtle. Holding a glass of champagne, I walked over with steady steps. The sound of my high heels created a dull rhythm on the expensive carpet, and the previously noisy little circle instantly fell silent. Oh, Miss Lin seems to have quite an opinion about my character. I spoke lightly, a playful smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Lin Wanru was startled, her face instantly turning pale, yet she still forced herself to straighten her back. Xingning, am I not telling the truth? When you were down and out back then, you couldn't even afford your tuition. It was my father who gave you the money. Since Miss Lin mentioned financial support, this is perfect timing. I snapped my fingers, and I immediately handed over a stack of organized transfer receipts. Attorney Han, please read them out loud. Han Xiao stepped forward from the crowd, his voice calm and restrained. According to the bank statements, over the past 3 years, Miss Shen has transferred a total of 15 million to the Lin family under the name of charitable repayment, which is 100 times more than the so-called tuition support the Lin family once provided. Additionally, the dress Miss Lin is wearing tonight, as well as the necklace around your neck, were both purchased with public funds from the Lu Group, illegally spent using Miss Shen's patent dividends. The murmurs among the surrounding crowd instantly shifted. The noble women who had initially sympathized with Lin Wanru immediately took a step back, as if avoiding something unlucky. You're lying, Lin Wanru shrieked. Whether it's nonsense or not, the police will tell you later. But right now, I'm more interested in that. I pointed toward the charity auction taking place at the center of the banquet. On the stage, the auctioneer was showcasing the evening's grand finale, a blue diamond necklace named Tears of the Deep, with a starting bid of 50 million. Lu Yuchen had somehow made his way over. He looked at the necklace, a hint of desperate madness flashing in his eyes. Suddenly, he raised his paddle. 60 million. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone knew the Lu family was on the verge of bankruptcy. Was he trying to make one last desperate bid for reputation, to prove he still had financial power? 100 million. I casually raised my champagne glass in my hand, using it in place of a bidding paddle. Lu Yuchen suddenly turned to look at me, veins bulging on his forehead. Xingning, are you determined to go against me? Mr. Lu, this is a charity auction. The highest bidder wins. If you have the money, feel free to continue. I smiled. With an air of nonchalance, Lu Yuchen gritted his teeth in frustration. The investors around him, who had been watching from the sidelines, shook their heads and left their seats upon seeing my aggressive stance. They were no fools who would help a rival targeted by the Shen Group. 110 million. Lu Yuchen shouted, his voice trembling. This was the last bit of secret funds he could mobilize. 200 million. I didn't even bat an eye. The entire room erupted in an uproar. Spending 200 million on a necklace was no longer a matter of financial capability, it was a blatant humiliation. Lu Yuchen slumped into his chair, the last trace of color draining from his face. He knew he had lost, utterly and completely at this moment. Lin Wanru was still making a last-ditch effort. She rushed up to me, trying to grab my gown. Xingning, don't get too cocky. You're just relying on the Shen family's wealth. What's so great about you? I slapped her backhanded, the crisp sound echoing throughout the banquet hall. This slap is to teach you to recognize your place. I took the wet wipe handed to me by I, elegantly wiping my fingers. Lin Wanru, do you think getting a marriage certificate makes you a wealthy lady? Then do you know that, in order to raise the funds for tonight's auction, Lu Yuchen has already mortgaged the apartment under your name? Lin Wanru was struck as if by lightning, her gaze snapping toward Lu Yuchen. Lu Yuchen avoided her eyes, the truth speaking for itself. Lu Yuchen, you lied to me. Lin Wanru lunged at Lu Yuchen like a madwoman, and the two of them brawled together in full view of everyone. The once aloof CEO and pure white moonlight now resembled two street ruffians, putting on the most absurd performance at a top-tier banquet. I watched the scene coldly and said to Mr. Zhao beside me, Mr. Zhao, I think you'll be more interested in seeing the evidence of Lu Corporation's accounting fraud now. Mr. Zhao took the document, glanced at it, and snorted coldly. This kind of mess, anyone who touches it is doomed. Chairman Shen, let's sign the acquisition agreement directly tomorrow. The banquet lights still shone brightly, but I knew that the lights for Lu Yuchen and Lin Wanru had been extinguished for good. The cold rain of late autumn slanted against the glass curtain wall of the Lu Group headquarters building. The once gold-plated Lu Group logo was now being violently dismantled by several uniformed workers in the lobby. Court enforcement officers were methodically placing white and black seals on the marble pillars, leather sofas, and even the computers at the front desk. The elites who once frequented this building were now filing out in a panic, clutching cardboard boxes, holding a large black umbrella. I stood across the street, quietly watching the collapse of this decaying empire. Chairman Shen, Lu Yuchen is in the top floor office and refuses to leave. I approached me and pulled open the revolving door of the building. When I pushed open that familiar office door, inside was unfolding a scene more dramatic than any script, a classic case of dog eat dog. The once tidy and austere office was now in complete disarray. Shreds of expensive rice paper littered the floor, while Lin Wanru clung desperately to a briefcase, her sharp nails leaving several bloody scratches on Lu Yuchen's face. Lu Yuchen, don't think I don't know, you've hidden the last of the money in that overseas account. Lin Wanru's voice was shrill and distorted, a far cry from her usual pure, innocent moonlight persona. Give me the password. I've been with you all this time, endured so much humiliation from Shen Xingning. This money is the compensation I deserve. Lu Yuchen gripped the briefcase strap tightly, two buttons torn from his suit, his face a mottled mix of green and purple. The refined dignity he once carried had long since shattered. Lin Wanru, you crazy woman, when the Lu family wasn't bankrupt yet, you spent my money and used my things. Now that the company has been seized, you actually want to transfer away the last bit of life-saving money and run off. Lu Yuchen pushed her away abruptly, his eyes filled with desolate self-mockery. I must have been blind for someone like you. I lost Xingning. I lost the entire Lu family. Xingning, now you remember her. Lin Wanru fell to the floor, her hair disheveled as she sneered coldly. What a pity, she's now the high and mighty chairwoman of a financial group, and she'd find even looking at you dirty. Lu Yuchen, you're just a penniless man with $1 billion in debt now, who would stay with you without money? I gently knocked on the open door. The argument abruptly ceased. Lu Yuchen seemed to have found his last lifeline, scrambling and stumbling toward me, trying to reach for the hem of my skirt, only to be kicked away by I. Xingning, save me. I'll drive that bitch Lin Wanru away. I don't want any of that money anymore. I just want the Lu Group to survive. He lay prostrate on the ground, his forehead pressed against the cold floor, humbled to the dust. I walked past him, heading straight for the redwood desk that once symbolized power, my fingertips brushing over the seal affixed to it. President Lu, you've misunderstood. I'm not here to save you today, I'm here to reclaim the property. I took a stack of freshly signed property transfer documents from Su Man's hand and tossed them lightly onto the table. All assets of the Lu Group, including this building and your ancestral Lu family home, were fully acquired by the Shun Consortium 5 minutes ago. As of now, you don't even have the right to touch this chair. Lu Yuchen froze, lifting his head with a dazed look in his eyes. No, the old house can't be sold. My parents are still inside. They should have moved out by now. I looked down at him, my tone cold to the point of cruelty. Lu Yuchen, you didn't just lose a woman, you lost 10 years of technological support from the Shun family. 3 generations of the Liu family's foundation, and the only chance you'll ever have to stand at the peak. Seeing this, Lin Wanru, who was nearby, rolled her eyes and immediately put on a flattering expression, trying to crawl over. Xingning, no, Chairman Shen. I know I was wrong, it was Liu Yuchen who seduced me. He insisted on taking me to get a marriage certificate for the experience. I know a lot about the shady accounts and violations within the Liu group. As long as you let me go, I'm willing to be a witness. Witness, I looked at her coldly. Miss Lin, do you think Lawyer Han didn't notice the public funds you transferred? The so-called escape money you took has now become solid evidence of your embezzlement. At that moment, several police officers pushed the door open and entered. Ms. Lin Wanru, Mr. Liu Yuchen, regarding the Liu Group's suspected involvement in major contract fraud and illegal asset misappropriation, please come with us to assist in the investigation. The cold handcuffs snapped around both their wrists. Lin Wanru instantly collapsed to the ground, wailing loudly. Liu Yuchen, meanwhile, was like a puppet whose strings had been cut, allowing the police to drag him away. His gaze remained fixed on me, filled with intense regret, unwillingness, and a glimmer of hope that had been completely extinguished. Shen Xingning, if I could do it all over again, Liu Yuchen, the cheapest thing in this world is. If I turned around, my back to them as I walked toward the window. Behind me, the curses and cries of the two gradually faded, finally disappearing into the sound of the elevator doors opening and closing. The rain had stopped, and a lingering ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, shining into this empty office. I looked out the window. This was once a place I fought for and dedicated myself to. Now, it finally belongs to me, yet it no longer holds any importance. Chairman Shen, all the items that belong to you from the Liu family's old residence have been moved back to the Shen residence. As for the Liu family's old belongings, Su Man asked softly, everything has gone up in flames. I gazed into the distance. Liu Yuchen's marriage registration experience has come to an end, and my revenge experience should also be drawing to a close. In the dim, damp interrogation room of the detention center, the air was thick with the stale scent of rust and the sharp odor of disinfectant. Only a single dim hanging lamp swayed slightly overhead, casting mottled, cold, and harsh shadows. I sat on one side of the blast-proof glass, flipping through the supplementary evidence handed to me by Han Xiao. On the other side of the cold iron bars, Liu Yuchen wore an ill-fitting, drab grey prison uniform. Once a cold and aloof nobleman, he now appeared with unkempt stubble and sunken eyes, looking as though he had aged 10 years. Shen Xingning, are you really going to take things this far? His voice was as dry as sandpaper scraping against the ground. His hands were fixed to the armrests of the interrogation chair, and the metallic clinking of the handcuffs echoed sharply in the empty room. Over. I set down the file in my hand and looked up at him, my gaze colder than the temperature in the room. Mr. Liu, have you forgotten? Back in the marital home, you told Lin Wanru that you'd wait until Liu Corporation was firmly established before letting me leave with dignity. The dignity you spoke of, was it to have me kicked out like trash, stripped of the patents you'd squeezed dry, and saddled with a 3 billion deficit? Liu Yuchen gasped heavily, trying to prop himself up, his eyes fixed intently on me. But I never meant for you to go to prison. And now, the evidence you submitted to the prosecutor, it's not just about wiping out Liu Corporation. It's about putting me away for at least 15 years. Xingning, after 3 years together, is this all that's left? Together? I let out a light laugh and took a photo from my bag, pressing it against the glass. It was a picture of Lin Wanru in another interrogation room, pointing hysterically at the surveillance camera, accusing Liu Yuchen of instructing her to falsify all the accounts. Your true love, in the next room, has already confessed every detail of your tax evasion and embezzlement of public funds over the past 3 years, all to get a reduced sentence. I watched Liu Yuchen's expression freeze instantly, then added another blow. She said you used marriage to deceive her, telling her that as long as you got the certificate, she would be your scapegoat. Liu Yuchen, look, this is the sense of experience you pursued, stabbing each other in the back. How does it feel? That bitch. Liu Yuchen gritted his teeth, veins bulging on his forehead, a sign of madness after his beliefs had crumbled. How dare she? For her. I gave up the Shen family, that towering tree, for her. No, it wasn't for her. I cut him off, my tone calm yet cruel. You were just too arrogant, you thought you could play with everyone's emotions, that without you, I'd be nothing but withered grass by the roadside, and that the Shun family was just a legend. Lu Yuchen, people like you, what you love most is always that ridiculous vanity of yours. Just then, an upright prosecutor pushed the door open, holding a final, signed indictment. Mr. Liu, given the conclusive evidence and the fact that Ms. Lin has already signed a confession, we are formally filing charges against you. The prosecutor turned to me and gave a slight nod. Chairman Shun, thank you for providing the original data. It played a decisive role in recovering the misappropriated research funds. I stood up, elegantly smoothing the wrinkles on my suit. Xingning, please save me. Lu Yuchen suddenly began frantically shaking the interrogation chair, the chains clattering loudly. As long as you drop the charges, as long as you're willing to plead for leniency on my behalf in court, I'll agree to anything. My private collection, the password to that secret overseas account. I paused, looking at this man through the glass one last time. Lu Yuchen, you still don't understand. The chips you take such pride in are worth less to me than the dust in this room. My gaze fell on his prison uniform, and a mocking smile curled at the corner of my lips. You used to love wearing that pure white tailored suit, claiming it symbolized your noble and unyielding character. This grey outfit now suits your filthy heart much better, Shun. Xingning, you crazy woman. I hope you die a miserable death. The furious curses behind me gradually faded as the heavy iron door closed. I walked out of the detention center, greeted by the blinding sunlight outside. Han Xiao followed closely behind me and said in a low voice, Chairman Shun, Lin Wanru may receive a 5-year sentence due to her active cooperation in exposing the case and the relatively small amount involved. As for Lu Yuchen, with multiple charges combined, he will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. 5 years is too lenient for her. I pulled open the car door and settled into the spacious back seat. Notify the people over there. I want Lin Wanru to experience the most authentic social education during her time inside. Understood. As the car started, I gazed at the scenery speeding past outside the window. In a society governed by law, I never resort to killing with my own hands. Instead, I use the most legitimate means to ensure that every second of their remaining lives is filled with regret for ever stepping into that wedding room. A new question surfaced in my mind. The Liu family may have fallen, but those old-timers in the capital who once watched coldly or even tried to take advantage of the chaos seem to think that I, the head of the Shun family, am merely lucky. Su Man, pass the word along. I dialed the phone, my tone icy. Next, it's Zhao's Industrial's turn. I want everyone in the capital to know that the Shun family's return isn't about sharing the cake, it's about rewriting the rules. On the bustling Wangfujing pedestrian street in the capital, crowds swarmed beneath a massive 3D outdoor billboard at that moment. The screen was broadcasting a top-tier business event live, the annual Most Influential Women Awards ceremony. In the footage, I wore a sharply tailored pure white satin suit, with minimal jewelry, yet my composure and confidence alone commanded the attention of the entire roaring venue. Ms. Shun. From the jilted bride to executive chairwoman of the Shun Group, you achieved this transformation in just 3 months. What would you like to say to women everywhere about such a dramatic change in status? The host handed me the microphone, her eyes filled with awe. I faced the camera, offering a professional yet distant smile. What I want to say is that marriage has never been a refuge for women. Only the power in one's hands and the awakening within are the eternal pillars of support. As for betrayal and hardship, they are merely stepping stones on my path to the peak. Meanwhile, in the shadowy alleyway directly beneath the massive screen, a disheveled woman, reeking of alcohol, was huddled pitifully beside a trash can. She wore a lace dress, now faded beyond recognition, a cheap piece she had bought back then to sneak into a high society banquet. Accused of embezzlement but released on bail due to a false claim of pregnancy, later proven to be fabricated. With all her assets frozen, Lin Wanru now not only faced a second summons from the law but was also completely ostracized from high society, reduced to peddling cheap flyers in such a place just to survive. She tilted her head back, her eyes fixed intently on the radiant version of me on the screen, her nails digging deep into the mud caked in her palms. Why, Shun Xingning, how can you still smile so brightly? She rasped hoarsely, her voice drowned out by the clamor of passers-by. Just then, a few drunken, burly men passed by and kicked her away in disgust. Get lost. Don't block our view of the real beauty. President Shen is the true goddess. Someone like you isn't even fit to shine her shoes. Lin Wanru lunged at them like a madwoman, trying to claw at their faces. I am Mrs. Liu. I have the marriage certificate. I am the wife of the Liu group. Slap. A resounding slap sent her tumbling to the ground. Crazy woman. The Liu family went bankrupt and liquidated long ago. Your pretty boy husband is serving time in prison, and you're still dreaming. The burly man spat in her face. Lin Wanru collapsed on the ground, watching me elegantly raise the trophy on the big screen, surrounded by the standing ovation of the elite. The stark contrast between us, like clouds and mud, tormented her more than death itself. She tried to rush into the award ceremony, wanting to tear off my hypocritical mask in public and expose my so-called heartlessness. However, as soon as she reached the hotel entrance, she was stopped by I and the security guards. I looked down at her with no pity in his eyes, only the indifference one might show toward trash. Miss Lin, Chairman Shen said that if you wanted to experience the feeling of getting a certificate, the law has already granted you that. As for high society occasions like this, you will never be qualified to set foot in them again in this lifetime. I want to see her. Shen Xingning, you've taken everything from me. You deserve to die a horrible death. Lin Wanru's shrill screams drew the attention of passers-by, causing them to stop and stare. I walked out through the hotel's VIP entrance, and I quickly opened the car door for me. Just before stepping into the vehicle, I turned my head slightly, my gaze lingering for a moment on Lin Wanru's contorted face. There was no anger, not even mockery. It was a complete and utter disregard. Let's go, I said calmly. The car window slowly rose, shutting out the vulgar words. In another world, Chairman Shen, Zhao's industries can't hold on any longer. Mr. Zhao has personally sent an invitation, hoping you'll attend tomorrow's private yacht party. Su Man handed over the tablet. I glanced at Zhao's precarious financial statements on the tablet and curled my lips into a cold smile. No rush, before reeling in the net. I need to deal with the most withered, discarded piece first. On the large screen, my exclusive interview continued. I spoke about the power of women and the future of the business landscape. Meanwhile, Lin Wanru, driven away by security, disappeared like a stray dog at the end of the bustling street. She thought she had snatched away a man, but in reality, she had merely picked up a shackle from the trash heap, one heavy enough to drown her. As for me, I have already reached a height she could never glimpse. No matter how hard she strives in her lifetime, the dark grey walls of the prison stood like an eternal barrier, cleanly dividing the world into two separate dimensions. This was the last time I would come here. The footsteps in the corridor were heavy and rhythmic, each step seeming to measure the distance between me and that decaying past. The glass of the visitation room carried a chill that had accumulated over the years. Shortly after I sat down, the iron door opposite swung open with a loud clang. Liu Yuchen walked out. He was no longer the aloof and noble young master he once was. For the convenience of serving his sentence, his once proud tousled hair had been shaved into a short buzz cut, and his originally upright posture had become somewhat hunched from long-term heavy physical labor. Most striking of all, his eyes, which had once always carried an air of detachment and arrogance, were now bloodshot, filled with humility and madness. Trembling, he picked up the receiver, his palm pressed against the glass, the crevices between his fingers still carrying the lingering scent of machine oil that couldn't be washed away. Xingning, you've finally come to see me. His voice, as soon as he spoke, was hoarse, as if worn down by wind and sand. Did you receive the letters I wrote you? I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I think of you every day here. I think of our days together in the lab. Please save me. You have good connections with the judges. Help me apply for a sentence reduction, even just 1 day. I calmly picked up the receiver, looking at his face twisted with agitation, yet my heart remained surprisingly unruffled. Liu Yuchen, I didn't read your letters. All those letters were taken by Uncle Chen to be burned, said to be used as fertilizer for the white roses in the backyard. My voice was gentle, as if discussing the weather today. Liu Yuchen's expression froze, the last flicker of hope in his eyes beginning to waver. You can hate me, you can take revenge on me, but you can't really abandon me. He suddenly grew agitated, pounding on the bulletproof glass with force, producing a dull thud. That bitch Lin Wanru, she's living a life worse than death out there, she deserves it. But I'm different, I'm Lu Yuchen, the man who loves you most. As long as I get out, I'll turn over a new leaf. I'll transfer all of Lu family's remaining overseas patents to you. Lu Yuchen, I calmly interrupted him. You still don't understand. What you call love is nothing more than a lifeline you cling to in your downfall. Back when you were at the height of your power, your love was the marriage certificate experience you shared with Lin Wanru. Now that you're imprisoned, your love is a bargaining chip for a reduced sentence. The love of someone like you is too expensive. Shen Xingning, don't want it. I took a photo out of my bag. It was a group photo from our engagement ceremony 3 years ago. In the picture, he looked aloof and detached, while I smiled warmly and brightly. This photo was found in the old Lu family mansion that I bought. Originally, I intended to burn it to ashes. Right in front of him, I aligned the photo with the small blade of the shredder. With a hiss, the photo that had carried 3 years of youth turned into countless tiny paper shreds under Lu Yuchen's increasingly despairing gaze. True revenge isn't about watching you suffer, it's about standing here again and seeing you as no different from the dust in the trash outside. I placed the receiver on the counter, offering him a pitying smile through the glass. Lu Yuchen, what you lost wasn't just me, it was the last shred of dignity you had in this world. No, Xingning. Don't go, come back. On the other side of the glass, Lu Yuchen roared with all his might, trying to break through the door that separated us. But the guards behind him held him firmly, dragging him back into the depths of the endless corridor. His once clear voice was reduced to nothing but the desperate, animal-like cries of despair. I walked out of the prison gates and took a deep breath of the free, slightly cool air outside. I had already opened the car door for me, he reported in a low voice. Chairman Shen, Lin Wanru performed extremely poorly inside. Due to suspected repeated provocation and causing trouble, her sentence may be extended. Additionally, the collapse plan for Zhao's industrial has entered the final 3-hour countdown. Excellent. I looked out the window at the wilderness flashing by. Let the remnants of Lu Yuchen's so-called aloof pride rot away in this box. The landscape of the Shun Group doesn't need such trash as decoration. The car glided smoothly along the highway, the sky a pristine blue, untouched by dust. Leaning back in the seat, the void in my heart that was once named Lu Yuchen was finally filled at this moment with boundless power and absolute rationality. Revenge was merely the ritual of awakening, and my journey had just begun to cross the mountains. The first light of dawn gently bathed the back garden of the Shun family estate in a golden glow, far from the hustle and bustle and the taint of money in the capital. Only 100 acres of white roses swayed in the breeze, exuding a cool and noble fragrance. I wore a silk emerald green gown, walking barefoot on the neatly trimmed lawn, holding a cup of freshly ground blue mountain coffee. Uncle Chen approached, handing me a stack of morning briefings, his expression more relaxed than ever before. Miss, Zhao Industries officially announced bankruptcy liquidation last night. Mr. Zhao has been taken away for investigation on suspicion of multiple financial frauds. The last remnants of the Lu family's influence have also been completely cleared away with the fall of the Zhao family. He paused, revealing a faint smile. The circles in the capital are now saying that Chairman Shen isn't just making a comeback, she's here to rebuild the laws of this forest. I took a light sip of my coffee, my gaze drifting toward the distant rolling hills. Uncle Chen, this is just the beginning, I said calmly, my tone devoid of any trace of the naivety from years past. Revenge can grow tiresome after a while. What interests me now is how to bring Shun Group's scientific achievements to the global stage, forcing those who once looked down on the power of women to look up to us. Just then, a dark grey Aston Martin slowly pulled into the private driveway of the estate. The door opened, and out stepped a tall, upright man with an air of cool detachment. His name was GUCI, the head of the GU Consortium, and the only man in this game who had seen through my strategy and chosen to stand by my side. His coolness was different from the feigned arrogance of Lu Yuchen. GUCI's coldness was an innate nobility and an absolute command over the situation. Chairman Shen, already surveying your empire so early in the morning, GUCI walked up to me, handing over a dark gold collaboration invitation, a faint smile playing at the corner of his lips. Mr. GU is quite well informed. I took the invitation, which bore the logo of the exclusive session of the Global Technology Summit. The Zhao family has just fallen, and you've already come knocking. Aren't you afraid of being swallowed up by a ruthless woman like me? Guci chuckled softly, his laughter carrying a magnetic resonance in the morning air. I'd actually welcome it if you had that capability. After all, in this mediocre world, finding a worthy opponent and partner is rarer than earning 10 billion. This is a global development agreement for the new biochip. I believe only the Shun family's patent library is worthy of this contract. I looked at the agreement. Once, for Lu Yuchen, I was willing to hold back my edge and be a behind-the-scenes supporter. Now, I stand in the sunlight, on equal footing with the world's top predators, chatting and laughing with ease. Mr. GU, I'm open to cooperation, but I demand absolute decision-making authority. I closed the invitation, my gaze sharp. As you wish. Guci gave a slight, gentlemanly bow. Chairman Shun's decisions are never wrong. After seeing Guci off, I stood alone on the high platform of the estate. A news alert popped up on my phone. Former business prodigy Lu, suffering a mental breakdown in prison, has been transferred to a medical parole ward. Lin, for repeatedly violating prison regulations, has had his sentence extended. I casually flipped the screen face down. No longer looking, those rotten names could no longer cast even the slightest ripple in the lake of my heart. I take a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air. I once thought that getting married was the ultimate destination, but later I realized that the only true destination in this world is a heart that grows stronger and the independence held firmly in one's own hands. The Shun Xingning who once cried on the eve of her wedding and struggled in the face of betrayal is dead. Standing here now is the chairwoman of the Shun Group, a ruler who holds the fate of countless people, a true awakened heroine who no longer lingers for anyone. I set down my coffee cup and turned to walk toward the main house. Uncle Chen asks softly behind me, "Miss, which outfit will you wear for the ribbon-cutting ceremony today?" "Choose the deep red one." I glance back with a smile, my eyes filled with an unrivaled sharpness. Since it's the beginning of a new journey, it has to be dazzlingly red. On the distant horizon, the morning sun finally rose above the mountain peaks, illuminating the entire world with clarity and brightness. In this territory that belongs to me, the story of Shun Xingning has just begun its most glorious chapter.